Back at it again, and we've got to talk about Uncle Trump, Letitia James, and that whole debacle and situation. It's a load of crap because we recently got some news. And that news is that Donald Trump has acquired, I think he said about $500 million in liquid cash. I think he posted on Truth Social. So now he has the money. But there's one piece about this story that someone on CNN said something about that. I actually think he's right. Yeah, I'm agreeing with someone on CNN. Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? Crazy. But I think you might too. Like, share, comment, and hit that subscribe button if you are new. And let's dive in.
The Letitia James crusade against Donald Trump is disgusting and is a threat to every American. When you have prosecutors who are elected to office on a promise of going after one particular individual as she campaigned on, then go on to keep a campaign promise using the legal system to do it, it's unjust. And this particular case reveals how ugly that is. In this case, you're talking about a crime for which there was literally no identifiable victim. The people who did business with Donald Trump weren't individual consumers. They were sophisticated financial institutions who made money from their dealings. And yet Letitia James is using a consumer protection statute to literally make up numbers and say, hey, you have hundreds of millions of dollars in penalties that you owe. You have bond to post by a particular date of an unreasonable magnitude that even no billionaire is regularly able to meet. And to say, if you don't do it, I'm going to start seizing your property. It's disgusting, and it is a threat to not only private property, but threat to the justice system and to the rights of every American. But the good news is there is an argument to push back against this in short order, and that's the Eighth Amendment. The Eighth Amendment prevents the imposition of excessive bail or excessive fines. And if there's ever an example that meets that to a T, it's the bond that's been demanded of Donald Trump in this disgusting New York Letitia James-led prosecution. This is an opportunity for the Supreme Court to step in and say, no, we're not going to stand for this kind of lawfare. Whether it's against Donald Trump or a Democrat, it's wrong. We don't want to empower prosecutors to be able to use bond and bail or bonds as a way of effectively achieving a goal that they couldn't achieve through the front door, which is bankrupting an opponent, even stopping them from being able to appeal those decisions. That's un-American. It needs to end now, not just for the protection of Donald Trump, but for the protection of every American. And in this disaster, I at least see a silver lining of some hope that that's exactly what we'll get from the Supreme Court. It's not just the current justices, not even the conservative ones, that would necessarily agree with this principle. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a staunch defender of this part of the Eighth Amendment as well. She's no longer with us, but the other justices are. And I hope this can be another 9-0 rebuke of the kind of lawfare that we're seeing against Donald Trump and indirectly against every American in this country today. And I think it could be the most important Eighth Amendment case of the 21st century. I hope they bring it, and I hope they succeed.
I agree with Vivek, and I touched on that in a previous video, where I, talked about how a lot of people weren't talking about the Eighth Amendment. Like, you literally, as far as my knowledge goes, you cannot do that. You cannot do what Letitia James and Judge Engoron just did. But I think there's a little bit of strategy going on here, right? I think, and this is just my speculation, I think Trump is allowing this to kind of slow roll, because he wants the American people to see it for what it is. Because I don't think most people really see it for what it is. And that is, they are literally trying to, it's like a death by 1,000 cuts, right? They can't beat him head up. And as a matter of fact, Stephen A. Smith said this, of all people, right? Stephen A. Smith said this. They cannot beat him head up. So now they're trying to do a bunch of things to try to weaken him in order to get the win. Right? We're gonna tie you up in court, so you can't go campaign, so you can't go out and do any types of events or anything, or go talk to supporters or anything. We're gonna tie you up in a bunch of courts. And not only that, we're going to tie up you financially. Okay? Obviously, we got you in court, so you got to pay all these lawyer fees. But also now we're going to take almost $500 million from you. Oh, you thought you had some campaign funds? Not anymore. Hand it on over. You see? See what I mean? And it's also funny that CNN actually admitted something that I found quite interesting. Now, I saw this, I think it was yesterday when I first saw this clip, but I had some other videos that I was putting together, so I'm doubling back to this one. Because if you guys remember, Judge Engoron, and this was like a whole big story, right? You guys remember when Judge Engoron allegedly said that Mar-a-Lago is barely worth $20 million. And everybody was like, oh my goodness. Even Joe Rogan commented on it. Like, that's just absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Well, CNN is even admitting that ain't the truth. Check it out.
At least 30 days to get any of these properties sold. But the property that you alluded to, Mar-a-Lago, potentially that could be something that could be sold quickly. I think the valuation is something in the hundreds of millions, and I think there could be a buyer for something like that.
And that would be literally, if you're talking about doing that between now and Monday, that's picking up the phone, calling someone, and then literally writing a check.
Yeah, I mean, there could be plenty of international people who want to buy that property. I mean, there's properties that are priced at 150 and 200 million that are nearby that. And Palm Beach is like the NVIDIA, of real estate. It's just shot up like a rocket. And people do want to live there. They've moved there. So I think that would be the best case scenario as to property. If he's trying to sell quickly, I would encourage that.
So, all right. Now, that's 240 million estimated. I mean, who knows? You know, he's a desperate seller. In this case, someone picks up the phone and makes that call this week. So I don't know what it'd be. That's still half of what it would be.
I think you need at least.
Yeah, it's only half. But still, it's a far cry from the 20 million that was allegedly proposed before. And I mean, you combine two of these right here, which I don't know. I wouldn't sell Mar-a-Lago personally. It's just so iconic, you know. If anything, I'd get rid of, you know, like 40th Street, and I guess the 305 and 270, that does it. More than enough does it. He still has some more of the properties as well. But that's just me. Now, once again, I think there's a little bit of strategy going on here from Trump, right? And I believe this guy's name is Frank Luntz. I think that's his name. He's a pollster, if I remember correctly. Now, correct me in the comment section if I'm wrong, but I believe this guy is Frank Luntz. Well, he was on CNN, and he said something that most people aren't really thinking about. And the whole panel on CNN went absolutely silent when he said it. Check it out.
All right, Frank, the politics of this. Folks in the Biden campaign are already starting to refer to Donald Trump as broke Don, which is interesting. And then there is the possibility that the New York Attorney General, Letitia.
And I've actually had a few conversations with some folks recently about that whole narrative. You know, Trump is broke. As a matter of fact, I think it was like trending on Twitter at one point in time, which is just, that's insane to me. Trump is broke because he can't come up with $500 billion in cash. Like, I don't think people really understand what type of money that is. You know, like, I will never, well, I won't say me never, you know, but most people, you know, I don't even want to put that out there in the atmosphere, but most people will not see $500 million in their entire lifetime. And you're saying Trump is broke because he can't come up with $500 million in 30 days? What? And people think, and this is also the thing. I think people think when something says, oh, net worth $1 billion, that doesn't mean you have $1 billion in cash. What? That means if your net worth is like $1 billion, that means you might have about 100 million, 90 million in cash, and the rest, you know, is probably tied into businesses, assets, you know, properties, stocks, all that type of stuff. Like, It's just really irked me watching people try to run with the narrative. And I know it's like, come on, Rich, why do you really care? But it's just like the lie. You know what I mean? Like, it's the fact that they're lying. That's my problem. Stop lying. The guy's not broke. Okay? If Trump is, matter of fact, I think I said this in a previous video. If Trump is broke, then I want to be broke. If Trump is the new broke, then I want to be broke. I want to be where Trump is financially. What you talking about? Okay? I want to be there. Goodness gracious.
Refer to Donald Trump as broke Don, which is interesting. And then there is the possibility that the New York Attorney General, Letitia James, would have to start or would start seizing assets, maybe even buildings. How do you think that would play?
I want you to remember this moment, and don't forget it. If the New York Attorney General starts to take his homes away, starts to seize his assets, it's all going to be on camera. Pundits are going to sit there and scream about this. This man cannot be elected. You're going to create the greatest victimhood of 2024, and you're going to elect Donald Trump. If they take his stuff, he's going to say that this is proof that the federal government and the establishment and the swamp in Washington and all the politicians across the country and the attorneys generals and all of this, that this is a conspiracy to deny him the presidency. He's going to go up in the polls just like he went up every single time they indicted him. The indictment, let's not talk about whether it's justified or not, but it will prove the things that he's saying on the campaign trail, and he will go up, and it may just elect him president. Do not forget that. And I say this to the Attorney General right now. If you play politics on this, this is what the secretaries of state did in Colorado and what they did in, I believe it was Maine. His numbers went up in both states. I don't understand. I'm almost speechless in how pathetic the opposition to Trump has been and how completely misguided. And this is a perfect example of it.
What do you think about that? I mean, my biggest question, this is the beauty of Frank having his job, which I don't have, is that happened, what you're talking about, Maine, Colorado, when you're talking about what happened in a primary. And while I don't disagree with the optics, I've spoken to people inside Trump world who are saying, instead of bankruptcy, we sit in the peace. Come to Trump Tower, please. We'll have cameras there. We'll have that fight. We'll win that optics battle. I think the bigger question is, in a general election, and given the fact that the Biden campaign has really latched on to this in a way that they haven't in most legal issues.
Broke down. I've been surprised to hear that.
He was joking about it last night at a fundraiser as well that was off camera, whether or not that rise in the polls can carry into a general election audit. And you'd know better than, I mean, you're talking to people, you'd know better.
How is Donald Trump beating Joe Biden when he's got 85 indictments that still exist? Felonies. How is he beating Joe Biden with the economy getting better and things cleaning up? Okay, you got, it's still have inflation, you still have got immigration. Trump is leading, and in the 7 swing states, Trump is up by the margin of error in 5 out of 7. Why is that happening? Because his critics are stupid, and they're running a horrible campaign. And for those people who do not want Donald Trump back, they should be thankful that the people who are orchestrating his loss are as pathetic, and they don't understand the American people.
Now, I don't agree with everything he said, but I do agree with the part of it when he talked about this being a bad move. The optics of it aren't going to be great. Letitia James taking over Trump Tower. I mean, they could do it if they want. Now, I highly doubt Trump is going to actually go that route. I'm sure he probably thought about it. But, you know, it is Trump Tower. You know, it's got his name on it. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that was that was a bit tough for him to go through with. So I think he will just give the cash instead of allowing the building to be taken. But if she did actually take the building, I think the optics of that would only had boosted him up in the polls even more. Even more. I think Frank is correct when he said that. 100% correct. You know, he's trying to warn the Democrats. And I've said this previously in previous videos. The way to beat Trump is you ignore him. You don't say anything. He doesn't exist. You don't acknowledge him. But because they are Trump deranged, they can't help themselves. And because they have gone this far, it's going to look really terrible if they just all of a sudden just pull back and just let go. You know, if they all of a sudden just said, you know what, forget all the indictments, you know, we're just going to leave them alone. Like, that's going to look really, really terrible because they've dug in so far. You know, they have no choice but to see it through. It's honestly a catch-22. They lose and they lose. As far as I'm concerned, they continue going through with this, and once Trump is proven innocent, and all this is thrown out, they're gonna look foolish. They try to pull back and let it all go, they're gonna look foolish. It's a catch-22 right now. They did this to themselves. They did it to themselves. You know, like for me, like I've given Democrats credit in the past. And I still will. And I know some of you probably look at me a little crazy, but it's the truth. I'm here to tell you the truth. Forget how you feel about it. The truth is Democrats are very strategic. Very strategic. Whoever is orchestrating the whole thing, that son of a, you know what I'm saying? Or that group of individuals, they some smart mother lovers. For real. I mean, when you just look at the Democrat establishment, they just move so strategically. They're all on one accord. Every time. Whenever there's something, they all repeat the same line. Every time. When you have someone like Hakeem Jeffries, when he goes on one of these mainstream media networks, bro, The dude is rehearsed these lines over and over again. Like it's crazy. They are very strategic and smart individuals, but in this case, they dropped the ball, which is great for us. So I'm definitely happy that they did that. I want to make that clear. You know, because I'm sure some of y'all are like, "Oh, they dropped the ball." Like, are you saying like they? No. But from their perspective, they dropped the ball. All they had to do was just sit back and be quiet. But they couldn't help themselves. And the proof is in the polls. As he said there, every time they threw another indictment at Trump, he did this. He just went up even higher. Every time they attacked him, he went up higher. Even after Joe Biden's State of the Union, Joe Biden lost a point. It's a sinking ship at this point. It's a sinking ship. But as always, y'all let me know your thoughts, your opinions on this in the comment section below. Like, share, comment. Hit that subscribe button before you go. Peace and love. I'm out.